So, Dr. Sujata, finally we got a chance to talk about sustainability and sustainable developments.
Yeah.
Remember how many times we have been talking to each other? What is this sustainable development goals? And more importantly, when United Nations are coming up with this thing, which is very global in nature,
Yeah.
we are also having an understanding that how our institution, maybe Globsyn, will be integrating all of these. And our director also told us the other day that sustainable development goals is so very important, the 17 goals very important, and maybe at some point of time, we've already started in baby steps, but at some point of time we will integrate all of them probably, and that will probably make the institution even global in nature. So I think this discussion is very important for all of us, for all the faculty members who are there to come. We can also do researches based on this. Our directions of research can also be based on sustainable development goals, because everywhere where I go in different conferences, and you must be going to different conferences, where you found out lots and lots of topics and debates in terms of how sustainable development goals is being implemented. And I actually feel that one of the most important point is its implementation, because implementation is always a big problem. When you have got theoretical something, we always say in theory, we say in concepts, but when it comes to implementing, then all the challenges start happening, because when you implement, then there are a lot of variables that will come in, lot of problems that will come in, and then we have to solve those problems. And sustainable development goal is basically a global thing, which means that in every geography it will be utilized, but in different ways.
Correct.
People will perceive things differently, and as a result, I think one of the most important challenges that will happen is how people actually understand this and implement this at the next level.
Correct.
So I think these discussions and conversations are very important for all of us to start doing, because to 2030 onwards, it will be more in terms of implementations. We're all now strategizing, planning, and then finally implementing. And when we are implementing to different segments, to different geographies, there possibly will be different kinds of problems that will creep up. So for example, if it is zero hunger, that same concept in different geographies and in different places will be implemented, will be understood very differently. And then there will be possibilities where things will take certain stages which we may not even predict today. So I think more conversations, discussions, and thereby how we can implement those, and what are the challenges that are going to come in, are very, very important. Even in the education sector, the fourth point of sustainable development goals, very important points, how the education sector is going to shape, or what are the things that we can contribute towards education at large. So all of these things, I think, are very important to understand. And you have been working with sustainable development goals, CSR, and its related fields, and sustainability for a long period of time. So I think it's an important discussion that we also understand that what is happening globally, okay, and what are probably the possible risks that will come in terms of sustainable development goals. So I would like to first start off this conversation with your views as to what do you think would be those global risks that will come in associated with the sustainable development goals.
Dr. Sabyasachi, I agree with you. Discussing about sustainability and sustainable development goals is important, because these goals are universal goals and they are all interlinked. Though we say there are 17 goals, they are all interlinked goals. So you cannot just achieve one goal and say you will not take care of the other goal. So all goals are interlinked. So basically we have to focus on all of them. And if we don't pay importance to any of these goals, then we can't say we have achieved the sustainable development goals. And you brought out a very good point on saying, what are the global risks? This reminds me, the World Economic Forum comes out every year with a global risk report. This year also in 2024, there is a global risk report. And this global risk report has identified the risks that we as a humankind face today. And they have identified the first risk is extreme weather conditions. So if you look at across the globe, there are floods happening. You will see wildfires you will see earthquakes happening. So there are a lot of natural disasters which are happening, and this is because of extreme weather conditions.
And see how it is happening in today's world. When we used to have summers, when we used to have winters previously, 10 years, 5 years down the line, you see there's been a shift in terms of all of these things.
Yeah, so you see the weather pattern has changed.
Correct.
You can't say, okay, the summer will start now and the winter has... You look at our condition here locally. In the month of March, we are supposed to say that, the summer, we still don't see the onset of summer.
Yes.
These are changes because of the climate is changing. And these have a risk not only on humankind, but businesses also face risks because of these extreme weather conditions. The second risk is related to AI. AI related misinformation and disinformation. This is also creating a big challenge, not only for humanity, because there's a lot of news. We don't know which is information or which is misinformation or which is disinformation. And this information is also causing societal polarization. So you will see that society is getting divided into groups depending on what they think is important for them. So these risks also pose a lot of challenges for business, because now when we talk of business, we are talking of a global workforce.
Correct.
Okay?
Absolutely.
And we are talking of a global supply chain.
Right.
So if you're talking of global workforces and global supply chain, then these risks actually pose a lot of problem for business. And as a business school, if we do not discuss these risks, the future managers will not be aware of these risks, and they need to be aware because they are going to make managerial decisions, and it's going to be important when they're looking at global supply chain or they're looking at their workforce, which is in different parts of the world. They have to understand how to deal with these global workforce, what challenges can come up, and how are they going to take care of these challenges.
Right. In fact, human beings as well as animals and other ecosystems which are all there, okay, we are seeing so much endangered species that are happening, and then the pollution that is taking place which is killing the aquatic life. So many different things that are happening.
Yeah, biodiversity is very fragile.
Yes,
And
very
any change in the weather pattern has an impact on biodiversity. If biodiversity is impacted, as human beings, we also get impacted. So, and we need to understand this. Many of us don't understand this, that, we think it is somebody else's problem.
Yes.
It's not somebody else's problem. It is our problem as well. It affects our daily life.
And it is our future as well.
Absolutely. Because if you see, as soon as the month of May and June comes, you will see the local municipal corporation will say water cut.
Correct.
And who is going to get affected? Each one of us. And we don't think about this unless we start facing that water cut, and then we say, okay, why did this happen? Without realizing that this risk exists and we need to be aware of it and start working how we can minimize the risk.
Correct.
Each one of us can contribute towards the sustainable development goals in our own way.
Correct. In fact, you look at how the ozone layer is being affected, how the water levels are rising, so many, how tsunamis and others had come in, right? So many different things, and that's the reason probably we're talking about sustainability or sustainable lives, and then it comes into all this global, because it's not an Indian issue, it's not a one country issue, it's a global problem. And I think that we need to be very conscious about when we are taking all these parameters into consideration and see how we can, in our small ways, at an individual level, at an institution level, at a country level, and at a global level, we can contribute towards all of these sustainable development goals, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, I think that's an important point in the discussion.